All right. Good evening, everybody. As Nate said, my name's Randy. Yes, I'm a little bit taller. I hate when Nate gets short with me like that. I'll be honest, Nate, I've had it up to about here with you. Okay, so tone it down a little bit. But anyways, yeah, Nate asked me to come and speak tonight. And guys, I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited that I could come here and be able to share God's word with you, to be used by God. And so having said that, I like to pray myself. So just real quick, if you guys would join me in some prayer. Father God, thank you for such a beautiful, beautiful day and the blessing of having another day. God, I ask that you speak through me tonight. I ask that you use me as a vessel, that it's not my words, God. It's not my doing, but it's yours. And God, I ask that you soften all of our hearts tonight, that you loosen us up and you just open us up to receive you. And yeah, God, I pray that in your name, and I love you and I praise you, and it's your name we pray. Amen. So, guys, I'm going to continue on with our 1 Samuel series. I feel like this is hissing at me. Hiss. Okay. So my first question for you is have any of you ever been in a position or at a place where there's somebody above you and you wonder how on earth they got in charge? How in the world did they get to the position that they're in? I have this attitude where I feel that all the time. And I work at a different place than here, and I have a boss, as you might be able to figure out. And a week ago, it actually happened a little bit today. It happened. It's me. Is my boss said something, and my first response was, "You idiot! Like, how on earth are you in charge? Like, where did you come from? Did somebody lose a bet?" Like, it's all of these things are running through my head, and it just goes on and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and it turns my attitude away from him being my boss to me just being like, wow, I don't even want to listen to you right now. It's unbelievable. My job is very simple. Don't worry, if I can do it on my own. And so, having said that, okay, I just want you guys to know that at some point today, at that point, I couldn't stand my boss. I wanted nothing to do with him. I just wanted, he could be over there, I'll be over here, do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing, leave me alone, okay? And at some point, I was thinking, why on earth are you in charge? How did you get here? And so, having said that, I want to leave it right there, and I want to move on, and we'll come back to that. Tonight we're going to keep going over 1 Samuel 24. And this section is really, really interesting to me because I struggle with it so much. It's something that I have a hard time with. And so this 1 Samuel 24, as you know, we're going through the story of David right now. And David's life has just been up and down, just a roller coaster. It's been all over the place. He's been highest of high, he's been lowest of low. And so some examples of it is he starts off really low. He's the youngest son, he's the sheep herder. He's the one that's just like, go, David, you're in the way. That's his life. And so then Samuel comes over to Jesse, which is David's dad, and he says, hey, the next king of Israel is here. God sent me to anoint him. I want you to bring all your sons. So Jesse brings all of his sons, and he leaves out David. He doesn't think anything of David. He's like, David's nothing. That's his life, okay? And so Samuel goes through and he goes, none of them are going to be the anointed king. Do you have any other ones? And Jesse goes, I have another son, my bad. And now granted, if I had 12 sons, that would be kind of hard to keep up with. I have a hard time keeping up with myself. And so it goes to that point where he gets anointed. So he's really far down, then he gets anointed. He knows he's going to be the next king of Israel. So then he becomes Saul's harp player. He is Saul's personal entertainer. Have you ever been put on the spot like that? Tell a joke right now. It's just like, you're funny, tell a joke, you're funny. I get that all the time. I hate it. People put me on the spot, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so he's the king's harp player. And so then he's doing that, and then he goes to the battle with Saul, and then he's sent out to fight Goliath. I consider that a low point. Hey, you're going to fight this giant Leviathan of a man. You're a little harp player. But David's all about it. He's like, all right, let's do it. Game on. Let's go for it. So he defeats Goliath. And so they come back, and all the women of Israel are singing praises about him, and they're singing to him, and that makes Saul kind of jealous. So his life's kind of up, and then Saul tries to kill him, and his life's back down. Have anybody ever been tried to been killed? Somebody? Yeah, I've never experienced that. I don't think it'd be very fun. It's not an experience I want to go through. So then Saul kicks him out of the palace and then brings him back. And so his whole life is just up and down, and it's just a roller coaster. And so we're going to pick up at one of these points where Saul is chasing him through the desert. Okay, imagine going out to the desert, out to the Book Cliffs, and your job is to run from somebody that's trying to kill you. Like that'd kind of be kind of crappy. Like I run track and I don't like to run very far at all. Running for days on end with spears behind me is not something that I want to go through. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up in chapter 24. I'm going to read verses 1 through 7. It says, after Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told, David is in the desert of En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all of Israel and set out to look for David and his men near the crags of the wild goats. He's hanging out with goats. That's a low point. He came to the sheep pens, and to sheep pens along the way, a cave was there, and Saul went in to relieve himself. David and his men were far back in the cave. The men said, this is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with as you wish. Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Afterward, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lift my hand against him, for he is the anointed of the Lord. With these words, David rebuked his men and did not allow them to attack Saul, and Saul left the cave and went on his way. How great of a chance would it have been for David to just end all of this? Saul, for you men out there, when you're at a point of relieving yourself, that is when you're most vulnerable. I mean, how many of you have got the little joke where like, the little push, and you're just like, and you don't want to move. You're just stiff as a board. You're vulnerable. You are at your weakest point. David had Saul at his weakest point. And so he snuck up and he could have ended it all. He could have said, I'm done with it. Saul, you're done. Go on his way. But I love how David listened to his heart as opposed to what was going on around him. David listened to his heart and he knew what God wanted in his life. And he didn't listen to his men. All his men were around him saying, you can kill him. This is it. This is the chance. This is the three-point shot. This is the game winner. This is the ender, the buzzer beater. This is it. But he knew that God had a plan and that God was going to take care of it. And I love how David listened to that. So what he did was he just cut off a piece of the robe instead. And so my question for you guys is, how many of us don't do that? How many of us get a chance to get revenge or get a chance to do something and we take it? We don't let God handle it. I helped out a lot in the youth ministry. Revenge is highly common in the youth ministry. One of the singers, Savannah, as she may know, she tried to get me at a camp, and we ended it all. I did, at least. I sought revenge. And I mean, that's an example that as a person, that's just what we do. We try to seek revenge, okay? And we wonder, back to what I was saying about my boss, why on earth is this person in charge? Why on earth is this person here? I need to seek revenge. I can do their job better than they can. Do you think that's gone through David's head? In my mind, I'm reading through this. I'm like, wow, David, why have you not just like moved on? Like, go to a different country, man. Like, you're still going to be king. Just let Saul do his thing and just wither away. And so, as humans, as people, we have a hard time handling leadership in a way that we kind of categorize it wrong. In our culture, honor is something that is very, very minimal nowadays. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. We mix up honor and respect. You know, we think that honor is something that's earned. We think that, they have not earned the honor that I should give them. But really, guys, honor is given no matter what, no matter where, no matter how. Honor is given. Respect, on the other hand, is earned. Respect is something that you have to work for. But honor is given. I think we mix that up. But I like how David knew that Saul was the king, and he still honored him. And so, even though David was probably thinking, Saul's off his rocker, he's going crazy, and he could have taken it in his own hands, he trusted God. He knew that God was going to take care of it. He knew that God had things under control. He gave God the honor that God deserved. You know, because sometimes what we do, and I do it again, guys, I'm the worst of us all. I'm the worst. Is we think, oh, God can't handle that. I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. I better not tithe to this week because my bills are a little tight, so I'll take care of it. And we take that honor from God. But what David did next is something that I think is very admirable. I think it's something that we need to practice. Because David, I'll get into this a little bit later, David is an example of Jesus to come, and Jesus is an example of how we're supposed to live. But anyways, going on, verses 8. It says, then David went out of the cave and called out to Saul. I love this. This is my favorite part. He says, my Lord the king. Saul's trying to kill him. Saul's chasing him through the desert amongst goats, where goats leave little berries that you don't want to eat, okay? And his first statement is, my Lord the king. When Saul looked behind him, David bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. So he gave Saul this honor. He said, my Lord the king. He bowed down. He put himself in a vulnerable position. He said to Saul, why do you listen when men say, David is bent on harming you? This day you have seen with your own eye. I wonder if David's like, David's been on. He goes, hey, Saul, why do you listen to your man? David's been on harming you. Sorry, tangent. This day you have seen with your own eyes how the Lord delivered you into my hands in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not lift my hand against my master. That line hits straight to the core. It says, because he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut off a corner of your robe, but did not kill you. Now understand and recognize that I am not guilty of wrongdoing or rebellion. I have not wronged you, but you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between you and me. May the Lord avenge the wrongs you have done to me, but my hand will not touch you. As the old saying goes, from evildoers come evil deeds. So my hand will not touch you. Against whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom are you pursuing? A dead dog, a flea? May the Lord be our judge and decide between us. May he consider my cause and uphold it. May he vindicate me and me by delivering me from your hand. Look at the honor that David just gave to Saul. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Look at what Saul's doing to David. He's trying to kill him. He's chasing him down with 3,000 chosen men. Chosen men, that means they're fighters. And David still goes, my master, my Lord, my king, you're up there. This is you, this is me. He says, who are you pursuing? A dead dog, a flea. Look, the image that he illustrates is great. He says, he starts off with my Lord the king. He puts Saul way up here. Saul is way up here. He is the king. He says, whom are you pursuing? A dead dog, a flea. How many of you guys see an ant and you just step on it, or like a spider? Oh, kill it. So many of us see that, and we're just like, we think nothing of it. And that's what David is putting himself as something so small and simple. There's a dead dog. Brush it to the side. Get it out of the way. And so what David is doing is he's honoring Saul because he recognizes that God has Saul there. He recognizes that God has a purpose for Saul, and he's honoring that. Even though David's being built up as a leader, he's honoring what's going on in Saul's life. And so, as I said, God has called Saul to be a leader, and David, in his path of growth to becoming a leader, is honoring the leadership before him because that's what he knows he's called to do. He knows that's what he's supposed to do. So I'm going to turn to Romans. There's a verse in Romans that is great. It's Romans 12, 14 through 21. And it says, it's on this next page, sorry. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head, figuratively. Could you imagine what that would feel like? Terrible. So, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Another question, and I ask questions because I like to think about these things, is do we follow this? Do we follow what is written right here, what Paul is writing? Do we follow that? Do we give food to our enemy? If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In my mind, no, that's an advantage for me. If he's thirsty, I got him beat, you know? That's how I think. It's do not repay anyone for evil for evil. That is what we think like as people. And so as I'd mentioned, David was an example of Jesus to come, and Jesus is an example of the way that we should live. And see, look at how Jesus lived as well. Jesus lived a persecuted life. Jesus lived a life where everybody was trying to beat him down. Everybody was trying to take away from him. Everybody was trying to put him down, was trying to kill him, do all this crazy stuff, throw him in jail. And yet, he lives in an honoring way. Do you think that Jesus could have gotten off the cross? I think so. I think that if Jesus didn't want to, he's gone. He's done. He could have cashed in his ticket and said, I'm over it. Very simply. But no, he was honoring what God had for him. You think Jesus could have overthrown Herod at the time? Herod did a terrible job as king. Awful job. Do you think Jesus could have said, you know what, guys? I'm just going to end it right now. I'm going to make it great. So, bam, done. Everybody's like having a great time and the world is a better place. Did Jesus do that? No, because he was honoring the plan that God has. God has a plan for each and every one of us, where we are. And of that, we need to honor God's plans for each other. That's why the title I have, Leaders Honor Other Leaders. It's important to honor other leaders no matter where they are. And it's funny, Jesus even honors Caesar. There's a point in there where the Pharisees are like, oh, do we need to pay taxes to this guy? He says that he's God. Do we need to pay taxes to him? They're like trying to catch him up. And Jesus grabs the coin and goes, well, this is his face, right? He made this coin. And they're like, well, yeah. And they're like, well, give it back to him. Jesus said, go ahead, let him have it. It's his. Give it back to him. Burning coals right there. Zing. And so, like I said, Jesus was an example for us. And since he was an example for us, are we living like Jesus? Are we honoring all the leaders that we could possibly honor? So we're called to honor our leaders. And so I was wondering, who's our leaders? My first thought was my boss. Oh, I only got one leader in my life. It's my boss. And then I started thinking about it a little bit more. Guys, there's leaders all over the place. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to start small. My boss. My parents, obviously a big one. My older siblings. I started going up a little bit. I said, okay, I go to school at Mesa. My teachers, my professors are all leaders in my life. I started going a little bit more. My coaches are leaders in my life. Kept going. Then there's the city council. There's the officers that are out there. You know, and it kept going up and going up to the president. No matter if we like him or not, or whatever, all the bumper stickers out there, all the Buck Obama bumper stickers, I'm sorry, okay? That is not honoring. That is the farthest thing from honoring, even though he's in a position of leadership and we don't like him. Some of us love him, some of us don't. We're still called to honor him. That's our calling on our lives. That's what Jesus did. We're supposed to live like Jesus. And so as I was saying, the list can go on forever. We could talk about this all night, who's leaders in our lives. And the question is, do we honor them? Do we honor the people that are our leaders? And so I want to turn to Leviticus, chapter 19, verses 17 and 18. This is great. I love this. This whole section. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I love it. It says, do not hate your brother in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor frankly, so you will not share in his guilt. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against one of your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. I love that little bit, the I am the Lord part, because it's like, remember when you were a kid and you're like, oh, Mom, why do I gotta do that? Because I'm your mother. Because I said so, I'm your dad. That's exactly what God's doing, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. God's saying, do not hate your brother. The president, whether you like him or not, is a brother. The people of Congress, no matter how bad we think they're steering us astray and taking us off and just sending us every which way, they're our brother. And we're called to honor them. It says, rebuke your neighbor frankly. However Frank would do it, rebuke him that way. I'm just kidding. It's not snapping. It's like it said in 1 Samuel, it says, do not repay evil with evil, but let good overcome evil. It's so you're not sharing his guilt, so you not be guilty. Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against someone of your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Boom. He just sets it right there. So guys, like I was saying, it's not our job to seek revenge. It's our job to live like Jesus did. It's our job. No, let me change that. It's our calling to honor God. And when we honor other people, whoever they are, wherever they are, however they are, we're honoring God. Jesus did that exact same thing. Jesus was honoring of the leaders around him. Caesar, Herod, all these people, Jesus was still honoring. Let me get a drink, I apologize. And that's what David did as well. And so I want to bring it back to 1 Samuel. And we're going to finish up the section of 1 Samuel. And this is verses 16 through 22. It said, when David finished saying this, when David finished saying, my Lord, my King, my master, I'm a dead dog, I'm a flea, you're the man, you got it going on, I'm nothing. You're the greatest, I'm the worst. You look really good, I'm dirty and ugly and smell like goat poo. Okay? After he got done saying all that, Saul asked, is that your voice, David, my son? And he wept aloud. I want to take a pause right there, because what David did also, as he was honoring Saul, is he was honoring him in a public place. He wasn't honoring him in secret. How easily would it have been for David to kind of come up and grab Saul in the cave and say, I honor you, I could have killed you. And then just like disappear into the darkness. Oh, yeah. Whew. He could have done that so easily. But instead what he did is he waited for Saul to leave and Saul to join his 3,000 men. And he got up on top of a hill. He got up to a point where everybody around could see him. And he honored Saul in front of them. Everybody knew what their job was, to kill David. Everybody knew that they were hunting David. And there he was on top of the hill in front of 3,000 men and the 43 that he had in his cave. And he was saying, I honor you. You are the master. You are the anointed. You are the king. He did it in front of all these people. Burning coals. Okay? It says, and he wept aloud. You are more righteous than I, he said. You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly. You have just now told me of the good you did to me. The Lord delivered me into your hands, but you did not kill me. In his most extremely vulnerable state. When a man finds his enemy, does he let him get away unharmed? May the Lord reward you well for the way you treated me today. Saul recognizes that. Saul's like, whoa, he's not my enemy. He's not trying to kill me. Why am I trying to kill him? I know that you will surely be king and that the kingdom of Israel will not be established in your hands. Now swear to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants or wipe out my name from my father's family. So David gave his oath to Saul, then Saul returned home, but David and his men went up to the stronghold. They chose to still live with goats and sheep pens. So, guys, remember that story that I was telling about my boss, how I was just furious with him. I was like, how are you here? Why are you here? Go away. I can do this job way better. This kind of really hit me right here, is I was not honoring him. Through talking to him, I figured out that he's done that job for 22 years. I've done it for a year and 2 months this time around. This is my second. In total, 2 years and 2 months. Okay, he's done it for 22 years. He's been there through thick and thin. He's done every job possible in that company, from my position all the way up to his position of a manager of the store. He's done it all. And I'm not honoring that. I'm not recognizing that God has him in that place for a reason. Whether he knows it, whether we know it, whether every customer that walks through that door knows it, God has him there. And it's my job to honor him as a leader. And I wasn't doing that. And so having said that, and reading through all this and kind of putting this all together, I felt so terrible. It's like, oh my gosh, how is that possible? Like, I didn't even realize I was doing it. It's because it's so second nature to us as people that we immediately, boom, cut him down. He's not that good. He doesn't know what the heck he's doing. He's been doing it for 22 years. I've been alive for 23, so he's obviously got me beat. So guys, I want to challenge you tonight. I want to put out a challenge to you guys to do 3 things when you get a chance. Okay, the first one that I want to challenge you to is I want you to find somebody that you like, find somebody that you know, and I want you to honor them in public and see what happens. Honor them the way that they deserve. Remember, there's a difference between honor and respect. And because you like them, you honor them and respect them. So this one's going to be really easy. Okay? It's like my mother's out here. Mom, thank you so much for what you've done. I appreciate it. I'm a turd, okay? Thank you for being there and for God putting you in my life. Without you, I would have been nothing. I would be dead by now, probably. So, example, okay? That was real though, Mom. I love you. So, the second one is gonna be a little bit harder. The second one, what I want you to do is I want you to find somebody that maybe you're not so fond of. If you happen to run into the president and you're not fond of him, I dare you to do this, okay? This would be fun. And I want you to honor them in a public place. Like David did up on side of the mountain in front of all those 3,000 men and all of his 43 or however many, he's probably had more than that, in front of all those people. I want you to honor them for the position they're in. It's like I said, you may not have to respect them. Respect is earned, but honor is given. I want you to try to honor that person in public and see what happens, okay? And the third thing is I want you to honor somebody that you see as a point of leadership that's below you. A lot of times it's really easy to do this one because it's like kids. Like I said, I helped out with the youth ministry. There are some youth leaders out there that are amazing, amazing kids. They do so much for the kingdom of God. They do so much for other people in general, okay? And that's just an example. You can find somebody that you recognize is in a place of leadership, and I want you to honor them in front of somebody, in public. Let it be known. So that way it's just not you and them like David could have done in the cave, just like crept up and just like, I honor you. I could have killed you, got your robe, won, and then walks away. Honor them in public. And so how great would it be if we started to do that? How great would it be if we started to honor the people that deserved honor? Like I said, respect is earned. Honor is given. Could you imagine what it would look like if people started giving honor where honor is deserved? Could you imagine the picture that it'd paint? But it's so opposite of our culture. You see, our culture today is weird. It's awkward. Okay, I was sitting down with Nate out there and we were talking about it and we're like, look at what our culture does. Just look at TV. Think of all the TV shows that are out there. How many of them are truly honoring? I came up with 2. One, arguably, yes, very honoring. One is absolutely honoring. The first one that's arguably honoring, and some of you guys don't laugh at me, Duck Dynasty. It's a great show. I love that show. It's all about family. It's all about leadership. It's a very honoring show. They never speak down to somebody. They're brothers. I have 2 older brothers. There is some talking down to. There's some competition, so granted, it will be talked. But that show, and then the other show that I guarantee is the most honoring and the only honoring show out there is that Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Have you guys seen that? That is the most honoring TV show that there is. I think that's awesome. I love that show. Brings a little tear to my eye. Don't judge me. I watch it, okay? I'm a man though, all right? Hair and whatever. But so look at what our culture is about though. Look at all those shows that are on TV. There's Family Guy. How many seasons has that show been on? Stewie should be 43 by now. That guy has been on TV so long. There's Family Guy. There's South Park. There's Tosh.0, okay? And maybe those shows aren't you. Maybe you're not into those shows. That's understandable. What about The Colbert Report or Jon Stewart? Those 2 shows are about cutting down each other. It's about cutting down the other side, the Democrats, Republicans, America, Baconator, okay? What about The Biggest Loser? Why do people watch The Biggest Loser? To watch fat people get yelled at by Jillian Michaels. Okay, that's why people watch that show. And I'm not trying to be degrading in any way, but what happens is they cut them down. Jillian Michaels is in the air. Do you want to be fat? Is that how you want to live? Blah, blah, blah. She's cutting them down, beating them down. That's terrible. That's what our culture is about. You look at all these sports guys, all these professional athletes that are getting arrested and for murder, for drugs, Michael Vick a while ago for dog fighting. How has our culture come to that point? Could you imagine what it would look like if we were honoring to other people? If those guys were honoring to somebody else, if we were honoring to them. And another show that I think is a big one that I can't stand, I will not watch, because I'm strong, is The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Oh, one of you guys, no, that's my show. No, I love it. The Bachelor and The Bachelorette are terrible. It's all about them getting on their little dates and be like, oh, Jonathan is stupid. Jonathan is blah, blah, blah. Jonathan punches puppies. I watched him do it. It's all about cutting people down. And in The Bachelorette, it's even worse. In like Jersey Shore, poor Tim's gonna come back orange. And it's unbelievable. Those shows are all about cutting people down and putting yourself up. And that's our culture today. Guys, that's what we're about. We're all about cutting somebody down so that we can get above them, as opposed to honoring them. There's like these business phrases that I say, dress for the job you want, treat people the way for the job that you want, and do this, do this. What your job in business world to do is take down the person above you. Is that honoring to the person above you? That's a person of leadership. God has them at that point for a reason. And we think that we can take it into our own hands and say, you know what, God? I got this. I can do this. I want to invite the worship team up. Wherever you guys are now is a fine time to come to the stage. And so, because of all that stuff, I don't know if you noticed, but Christians have a bad rap these days. Christians have a bad rap because we do exactly that. We cut people down. I go to church. Oh, I see you have a beer in your hand. We cut people down. We don't honor them. We look at people and we judge them. Could you imagine, guys, what the world would look like if we lived like we should? Could you imagine what the world would look like if we were to honor people that we were supposed to honor, no matter if they had a beer in their hand or not? Could you imagine what the world would look like if everybody honored everybody? And start a little bit smaller. Start in your workplace, or for some of you college students out there, start in your classroom, on a team, your band, whatever it is. Start small and honor them. Honor those people that are there. Honor the worship team. Guys, thanks for what you do. It's amazing. You guys, worship leaders, awesome. I love it. Yeah, give them a round of applause. Imagine what Junction would look like. Because it starts small. It starts with you guys following God's plan, honoring God's plan, honoring the people above you, honoring the people around you. Imagine how that could spread. If every one of us in here honored another person, boom, doubled. And see how that could spread. As a leader, guys, we're called to honor other leaders. I just want to drill that in one more time. It's our job, it's our calling to honor other leaders. As we build up ourselves, we're called to build up other people. As Nate had said earlier, if it was up to him, he'd talk every night. But he's following God's call and honoring other leaders. He's honoring God's plan on my life. And I appreciate that. That's awesome. I love it. And so, guys, we're called to honor as David did with Saul, as Jesus did with us by coming and dying for us and taking our sins. We don't deserve that. So we're called to live like that. We're called to honor people. So like I said, those 3 challenges, guys, I want you to go out there and I want you to honor somebody. 3 people. It's not that hard. Go out there and give them an honor, just a pat on the back. Hey, what you're doing is awesome. Honor them. Honor them in one way you can. So guys, tonight, let's honor God as we're about to worship. As these guys are going to lead us in an awesome worship set, let's honor God, the grandest of grand leaders, the only leader that doesn't have a leader. Let's come together and let's honor him. If you guys want some prayer, or if you want to talk or anything like that, we're going to have some people over here. Come and talk. Come and get prayer. Come and receive God. Come and, even if you just want to join somebody to honor God, let's all honor him tonight. Let's worship, guys.